There once was a man named Gold Roger who was king of the pirates. He had fame, power, and wealth beyond your wildest dreams. Before they hung him from the gallows, these were the final words he said.
Our perspective is yours for the taking, but you'll have to join us first. We left everything we debated at the Yonkō Table.
Ever since, pirates from all over the world set sail for the Grand Line, searching for the Yonkō Table, the table that will make their dreams come true.
Yo, folks, welcome to the Yonkō Table. It's another edition of your favorite podcast. That's right, that's the voice of GrandMasterHoop, taking the helms from an absent Dr. J. Saturni. He's not here today. It's because he has not prioritized what's going on in the world currently in TV. And hey, I'm here, and we got some other supernovas here too. So why are we here? We're here for what's shaking the craze of the teen world in terms of drama. It is the epic hit HBO series Euphoria. That's right, folks. That's Euphoria. And we are going to be deep diving. We're just going to pick up where the show is currently at. We're in season 2, episode 3. But of course, again, I'm not alone. I am with a host of supernovas that you know and you love. So let's hear who we're having words from today. All right, let's get cracking. So Euphoria, this is season 2. First season came out in 2019, had a 2-year gap between seasons, a couple of specials. Again, I wasn't on the train of Euphoria. I didn't really care, didn't bother to tune in. What is the draw here? What got y'all into Euphoria? Because y'all got me into Euphoria. Y'all brought it up, and that's how I'm here. And I'm glad I'm here. I'm very happy. But what drew y'all in? I mean, I know Zendaya is headlining the show, which is actually based on what? Is it what country? It's actually based on another show in a foreign country. If DoctaReeka, do you know the name of?
I think it's an Israeli drama.
Israeli, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, fun fact. I don't know if y'all knew that, but yeah. So what drew you in? Were you aware of the previous show?
So I was not. The events was that I got HBO so that I could watch Game of Thrones, and then I kept it because Big Little Lies season 2 came right after, and then I kept it because Euphoria had, came out. So, and really the interest was just because of Zendaya, and then I watched the first episode and I was like, oh, these kids a mess, so I guess I'm gonna stay. And here I am many years later. And it took that long. I imagine because of the pandemic and all the different folks are involved in different projects. But I'm here, and I guess I'm staying because I need to know what happens.
Right, and a lot transpires in the show. It's a lot to take. Darce, you said you have trouble watching. You have to take breaks between episodes. Is that true?
I mean, not necessarily breaks between episodes, because I watched it like as soon as they came out, I would watch it. But some of these episodes do get heavy, and it was like it's very telling on a lot of the stuff. The reason why I started watching it is because I was working at doing marketing at a rehab facility, and they were talking about drugs in the trailer and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of in the world that I'm in right now, just trying to relate to my audiences, try to figure out what's going on, try to get a deeper dive into some of these characters. And man, did I get a deeper dive, like learning about like just the way that they presented what goes through an addict's mind. It was so telling, and it's a really cool show to watch, especially with the visuals and everything too.
I feel you on the visuals, and not only with the addicts too, but they deep dive a lot of issues that I guess kind of get swept under the rug in these teen dramas, or maybe they're like glossed over in one episode as if the problem is fixed and solved in one episode. But yeah, I would say that's my draw too, is how it's presented. Like, I mean, the only other teen show that I currently watch is like Riverdale, and that show is dumb compared to this. I don't know. I mean, it's fun in its own right, but this show takes a next level of realism. NinoDesplasado, you're the most recent fan, right?
Yeah. I really got in because everybody else was talking about it, and I was like, oh, I finally I graduated from my graduate program, and I said, listen, I have time now. I can live. So I think one of the biggest appeals though was its commitment to filmmaking. Um, because damn, like some of these in season one, they had its moments, but damn, season two is just every single episode like is just beautiful, and it's beautiful to look at, and everyone's a mess, but it's so beautiful to look at that I'm like, damn, all right, that's okay.
I mean, if there's any
It's
episode,
like, there's like an irony in that, right? Like how this is so beautifully shot with such messed up lives. I'm thinking like Shameless, like Shameless, you see a bunch of like messed up lives, and like it's like, it's decently shot. It's not like anything so cinematically beautiful. But here we come, these beautifully like shot like graphics and images and all this stuff.
Layers.
Messed up people, right? There are the layers.
Right.
So proud.
I was gonna say, I think something to keep in mind too. Hooper was saying this, but like, it stars like characters who are teens, but I'm not quite sure it's a teen drama because while I feel like I imagine there are quite a lot of teens who have HBO that are watching it. I think something to hold context with too is like what they're discussing is really heavy, and I imagine that the folks that are listening to this podcast would be aware of that, but as we move forward, maybe content warning, like there's some heavy shit in this show.
Right.
And I see why a lot of like even my colleagues, maybe don't gravitate towards it or consider it as like casual viewing, because it's really happy to watch and what was already brought up, but it is like shot so wonderfully, and there's so like great acting, and the pieces that are put together technically are also of great interest, at least to me, despite the mess and the heaviness that can also come with it.
I think, the more we talk about the aesthetics of the show, that I think that gives you almost a sort of comfortability when watching. It's like something to appreciate as far as taking a breath from the darker and, the more mature themes of the show. It just reels you back a little bit and reminds you that it's a show. But again, the way it's presented is so, for lack of a better word, intoxicating. I don't think there's any show that really presents its narrative the way this show does. And I think this episode 3 of season 2, I feel, and maybe because I was under some kind of influence when watching, but I was mesmerized and like lost in it. So I think we're ready to go ahead and let's hop in this. Yeah, y'all good? All right, so maybe we should have done a live reaction because I was feeling a lot of emotions in the origins of Cal. Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm getting teared up right now. I feel so I thought that was a beautiful story. Oh, that was so sad. And then it was the longest intro yet in the series. So what we get Cal and his friend Derek, and you're like, it's a will they, won't they? It's like,
and then they did.
And then they did.
But then, as much like it really played a trick on you because you got to empathize with this monster that is Cal a little bit. Like there, because it's presenting Cal, like Cal's backstory, and you're like, damn, that really sucks. And then you remember everything that he's done up to this point, and you're like, wait a minute, wait a hot minute. I get it, but at the same time, what the fuck?
Right. Like, does it really excuse his actions from like previous episodes? No. Do you get a deeper understanding on him and why he's messed up? Yes. But I don't know, like that, it was very sad. And then someone brought up a good point, that like, is this why he has so much resentment towards his kids? Like, is this because of like, like
for sure, for sure,
And I think too, there's something to to what you just described as far as like, does it explain it? Yes. Does it excuse it? No. And, you know, I even use that with a lot of the folks that I work with. Is like, you can certainly understand and explain maybe where parents are coming from when you've been harmed by them, but it doesn't excuse that the harm happened. And clearly he is not a good parent in terms of the impact he's had on his child. We don't know much about the brother and potentially brothers. I don't know if you've all noticed this, but there is a family photo and there are 3 kids.
Yeah,
season we've
1.
Only seen, only seen 2. So
we've seen
shelve that.
We've seen the other brother.
We've seen one of the brothers,
and we've seen Nate. We haven't seen the other one.
Oh, I thought there was a littler brother.
No, I think that was Nate in the photo, as a young. Oh no, it was a full picture of Nate.
It's not the most important thing. I just want to throw it out there that, you know, something to look out for. But the relationship we see the most is between, you know, Nate and Cal, and clearly it is unhealthy and it is toxic. And I think then describes a lot of Nate's behavior as well, but doesn't excuse that Nate's, you know, he's involved with as well. And so I think what is interesting, just to kind of recap it, is that what the show does really well is that people are, like Cooper already brought up, is like people are layered, that like you could be sympathetic towards where folks are coming from and how they even got to this point, but it doesn't excuse the fact that there is toxicity and that there is abuse happening, and illegal ass shit happening. But you see some of the gray. Like, I think each character has some degree of grayness or something that we dislike, or something we're like, why'd you do that? That we're asking ourselves questions over, but at the same time, we're like, okay, I do sort of know why you did it, because this specific thing and it's attached to this. And so I think it shows just the messiness of just like being humans.
And
as much as,
there's also that generational trauma that gets passed down, because I feel like in season 1, you see Nate have like the grinder profile and all this stuff. And I get it was to kind of get at Jules, but like, you never know like what is really going on in Nate's head and like all of his stuff. And it also flashes back to the past episode where he's like literally envisioning his life with Cassie, and like he's having like this whole like perfect moment, perfect dreams, and in between like those flashbacks or like the flashes of his future, you see pictures of Jules like there, and like Jules in the bed and all this stuff. So like his vision of what his perfect future looks like may not be exactly what the future that he wants. Kind of like with Cal, like right after that intense moment of passion that he had, like his future was totally changed the next morning, you know, like it's kind of what I can see like the parallels between that and with Nate.
Yeah, it's the projection of the parent, because you know we open with Cal and it's his dad, you know, kind of like sit up straight when you're talking to me type of attitude, you know.
Yeah, get out of bed.
Right. No, and then you know, you can automatically tell too in the next set of dialogue when he sits down at the breakfast table, you know, he's like, I met a girl, you know, because why? Because that's the standard that the family has set. You know, you need to live, you know, your American dream, settle down, marry a nice girl, start a family.
I took that scene differently.
Oh, no?
I thought that it was the dad knew that he was gay. And
I think there was implication.
And when he was in the bed, he's like, get up so we can see if you have like a husband. And then he's like, no, I don't want to get up. And he's like, fine, get to the table. And then that's when he's like, well, I met a girl, so that he can kind of detract any sort of train of thoughts that other people might perceive to have.
Right. And appease the father and whatever misconceptions he might have about his son.
Which I kind of think that that's a common thing in the gay community, is that like if you're repressing a lot of stuff, like to say something like that to just make someone feel better is like it takes less burden off of yourself, even though you're feeling like you're in a duplicitous life. It's something to help ease the moment for right now.
It's the whole I'm doing something good in someone's eyes, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Air quotes good.
But even then,
heteronormativity.
Even then, I don't think that Cal had the the words yet, or like the development yet to understand his feelings for Derek until like the gay bar where
Right.
like he was able to find like a safe space.
Mhm.
So I just think it was very interesting that in one scene that you saw like the grandfather of Nate, you instantly knew what he was about, how strict he was, and like his effect on Cal. And I took that scene a little differently. I didn't take it so much as, oh, he was looking to see if anything. I was saying that any type of intimacy between men is treated as like it must be responded with violence.
Mhm.
And so then that's how things were done. Like I can imagine, a lot of like friends of my grandparents, or people that were in those times, very much do the same thing because that's what they learned was right.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's definitely like a product of its time too. Like the
Oh,
way
for
that
sure.
it was like what, in the 80s that they
I think it was pushing 90s actually. I was trying to do the math.
I was trying to do the math too.
Yeah,
So
I
Because
think
late 80s, early 90s, and like back then, like metrosexuals were a thing where it's like people who dress nice and stuff, they didn't want the term to be homosexual, but like it's a way of a cop out in a way, or a way to kind of like maneuver the conversation. And it was very much a thing that people were trying to explore, like sexuality. Like, is this an off topic? Like, their parents are definitely against it. Like, are they gonna rebel, quote unquote? And so it was very interesting to see. I love seeing like timepieces of these different like conversations, and see how people during that time would interact and how they would like kind of feel during all that stuff, because it is very important. Like, those conversations were not as easy to happen back then as they are in current times. So it was cool to see that stuff. And what an opening scene. I remember reading this thing like the first 10 minutes, just get ready. And I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta prepare.
Should have recorded. I should have recorded. I felt bad because I was like, I wasn't balling, but I was ready to ball, because again, it's just, say, gosh, again, there's the gray line with Cal. But it's like, you see how he channels his resentments and what he's been bottling up inside, and how it's a lot less violent than, say, Nate, So you look at the parallels between the two and see how. Okay.
I think he does use sex as an outlet for violence. If we've seen the
for
scenes
sure.
that he's been in, yeah.
For sure. But Nate, on the other hand, is kind of like more here. But no, it's just interesting to watch them handle kind of the same issue and how they go about it. We can flash forward to Cal in the current episode, in the current timeline. His
trying to handle the situation of the missing disc.
Right?
Yeah.
But you want to know something? That's some bullshit. Fuck
Which
Cal.
part? Which part?
Always, no. It's all of Cal's story. From in the current timeline, because he was like, I'm just a concerned father. And then when a gun was to his fucking head and Ashtray was beating the shit out of him, he's like, I just want the disc. I didn't know that she was underage. And I'm like, oh, so you're just a pussy. That's what it is.
Oh God.
Like, and Ashtray should have beat the shit out of him more.
Beat the shit out of him. Come on.
A couple more times. I mean, look, I thought I really enjoyed that scene. I'm curious as far as how things are going to turn out, knowing who has the disc,
right?
And I think what some of the fallout can be, especially now that Nate is back to having some direct, interactions with Maddie, and also maintaining those connections with Cassie. And I could certainly see that resentment could lead to that disc appearing.
Oh yeah, shit's gonna hit the fan.
There needs to be justice going forward. Maybe not in this season, but there needs to be justice for Tyler, who's in jail right now.
Oh,
that is true.
Right.
So, and I feel like that disc is gonna. I feel like Maddie might realize that she's gonna want to come clean, and Maddie didn't get to do a lot in this episode. Now that I think about it, for the past couple episodes, she's just been banging on doors, smoking a blunt, and saying if she should get back together with Nate.
I think Maddie's role in this is just, as DoctaReeka said, she has the disc, so the game-changing move is in her hand currently, and she is kind of just a question mark right now. But now that Nate shows up back at her door, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, of course, probably the abuse is going to continue. But no, Nate doesn't know she has the disc either, right?
Did Cassie's reaction saying, like, her whole blow up saying, I'm the happiest I've ever been, as she's like crying, whatever, was that real or was that all
fake?
That was in her head.
Okay,
I thought it was real at first.
Things are gonna blow up, but okay, no, things are not gonna blow up just yet.
They will, just not yet.
They will.
Because that's an inner look at her psyche. She can't take all this. She's in love with
Pressure.
Nate. God, I hate the fact she's in love with Nate. But she's in love with Nate, and she can't stand to see that these two people keep coming back to each other who are no good for each other. Not to mention, I don't think. Yeah, it's secular. Yeah.
But I don't even think she's in love with Nate. I think they've made it a point that she falls in love
with everybody.
With everybody.
Right.
And they've alluded a lot to like feelings of abandonment from her father and things like that.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's classic attachment style, baby.
Yeah. The more I want to get on with my life, the more Freud comes back in and rises from the dead. He needs to stay in his grave.
Wait,
there's something to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, no, who rose from the dead?
Freud.
Sigmund Freud.
Freudism.
Freudism. Sorry, Sigmund and Freud's the clowns with the tigers.
No.
Anyway.
Okay.
I don't know where you're going with this. I think the important part of what was shared is that there is something, I also disagree with a lot of what Freud said, but there is something to understanding how our interactions with guardians or parental figures can impact our interactions with other people. And so certainly we see that play out with a lot of folks. I mean, with Nate, with Cassie. So even in some way you can actually see it within Rue as well. With Jules, like there's a whole pattern of just like poor relationships with just like whether it's parental figures, guardians, that then lead to insecure attachments with
even sometimes like their sibling relationship too.
Yeah, a lot of self-destructive tendencies going on.
Because they don't know anything else. I mean, if what you saw growing up was abuse that was categorized as love, then that's what you think love is.
Correct.
Until you unlearn that and relearn something else. And unfortunately, if you got people who were 17, they don't have that experience yet.
Very impressionable years.
That's a deep point.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think
it's like I'm getting a degree in psychology.
I know.
Right. I figured you'd be really good about this type of stuff.
And I think it was most on the nose with Maddie, because she was really the pot calling the kettle black when she was talking to her parents last season. Like, oh my God, Dad hasn't even looked at you, and you're the one working on this house, and like she doesn't
make the connection. She doesn't make the connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Brandon, I wish we knew more about that relationship too.
Yeah, it's also what do you call it? I think, and I'm gonna bring this back to the filmmaking of this. I think it is done in a beautiful way to most replicate the feelings of teenagehood, of being in adolescence. Because there was one shot in this episode, I think it was, where Cassie was picking up the phone and she got like devastating news, but it was golden and sunny in the background, and it was in this like yellow kind of pigment and a gradient, and I was like, there's definitely a what do you call it, a discommunication between them, like a dissonance between them on purpose. It's done so on the nose because they want you to understand that these things are happening and they're terrible, but they're almost extreme in adolescence. And maybe we paint them over a little bit too much as well.
Yeah, a lot of their things that they go through, that's like, it could be peak for them. And as far as their adolescent years go, I mean, granted, they don't know their world outside of this little town where everybody knows everybody. And, you know, like we said, it's a lot of secular relationships and themes going on in these homes to where that's all they know. So
it's just intensity.
Yeah,
I think that is matched with the technical aspects of how things are filmed. Because the folks that I work with who come in as freshmen, so I work with college students, there is like these intense emotions, like, what do I do with all of these things that have happened? And like, all of these balls are in the air. What do I catch? What do I let drop? And that's what I'm like seeing happen amongst so many of them. It's just they don't know how to catch the things that are actually meaningful and potentially more healthy and growth promoting, and instead are catching those things that are more so toxic because of the intensity of it.
Right, which, you know, with Cassie, you know, in the beginning of the season, she was ready to be like, to focus on me. I recognize that, you know, I get in these relationships and I fall in love and I put all my effort into these relationships. And then just the worst person came and picked her up on the side of the road, right? Right. Like if anybody else came and found her in that episode, we might have seen, you know, it play out a lot differently. So again, it is the fact that this is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And yeah, you just run into the same type of people.
And going back to what Nino was saying about the lighting and everything, creatively, different colors have different meanings when you're trying to set a mood for a scene. And it was cool because in Cal's like origin scene, when he was at the gay bar, it was they purposely chose a green light to put over them. And it's like the green represents something fresh, new ideas, new life, new kind of like journey that you're going in, new love. And so it's like it was cool because you can see some of that stuff. And like the previous episode, there was a really cool scene where Lexi was in the convenience store, and it was like the cooler that had all of the drinks, but then the lights were red inside of it. And you don't notice that the lights were red until you feel the tension that is there when Nate's dad comes in and starts asking Fez questions, and she's just standing there by like all of those drinks. And then like you then notice like the red, and then you then notice like the anxiety, like the heated moment, like the anything can snap at any. And they do such a good job with doing that stuff, because you can see it in like almost every part of Euphoria. Like whoever is the lighting like director or choreographer or whatever is
the digital cinematographer.
It's the whole creative team, because again, when the writers get in these rooms, again, I felt every time, because this episode felt very episodic. I was watching it with Apex, and we were like, you know, everybody got kind of like their own little mini like session, mini story in this episode. You know, Rue has a lot of different kind of aspect ratio she's got going on. You have music video Rue, where she's dancing around to Call Me Dearest. What? I don't know the lyrics, but another beautifully shot sequence, because I'm like, and you know, and I love it too when she goes, was I high during this whole time? Because I had no idea what was going on. As far as, you know, was she high, or is this just kind of a narrative break?
They're happy, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you know, no, she's high the whole time. And then
I
was gonna say Darce has the background of, I love those little bits, her little projector bits. I love those.
This was really cool to see, like, in the mind of a drug, like an addict, then how they can be manipulative, right? Like that scene, like you can do a whole breakdown on that scene, because that is really what happens. And that's kind of how, when I was talking to some of the clients, like that's how their mind would work, is like anything they can do to get like the next fix without having to feel like they're being judged, or that they're being like, that there's going to be something that's going to hold them back from doing that. and like
Right.
that whole dynamic with her and the sister, and like
Yes. Oh my
that
God.
the door frame, I was like, man, they got it good.
Oh yeah,
And-
that
yeah.
Storm Reed, kudos to her, man. I think that was like creme de la creme for her in the series so far. Like she really matched Zendaya.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
It was
good.
heartbreaking though.
It was heartbreaking. Oh my gosh. Because she's you watch your sister OD and it's like hear your sister talking about doing more drugs. It doesn't matter what drugs she's talking about, because again, it's a gateway thing and it's a coping mechanism, I guess. But it's like,
And she said a good word. She said, when you do drugs, it's not like when anybody else does drugs.
Drugs.
Something that
Mhm.
you have to realize that you
Yep.
know their ability to do drugs is not the same as other people's. Some people know and have that thing in their brain that can turn it off, but sometimes with them they don't have that ability to kind of control themselves, and they fall into a routine or into a practice of continuously doing this stuff, and it takes a huge like mark on their family. And so her sister like feeling that and being like, you know, you can't just go and do a drug. Like, I'm concerned for you. I love you. And I don't want to see you like fall down again. I don't want to see you OD, you know, like, so.
And that was the beauty behind the moment, because I don't think, and up until that point, you really saw Gia really kind of taking the, you know, the mother figure, stepping in when the mother wasn't there. It was always kind of, you know, oh, Rue's back from rehab. She's doing a lot better. Mom, you got to be a little less harsh on her. She's trying. And then it kind of, you know, clicked for her right there that Rue's not getting better, or Rue's just, you know, compensating or just trying to make excuses for herself. And she's over it. I would be over it too. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, and she's like, look what you've done to our family. It's like, here, everybody is supporting you and you are not meeting them halfway. You know?
And then now she has to grow up even quicker because she has to take care of her sister. So she
Okay.
gets to lose a little bit of her innocence because she has to step up and take care when there's a void.
Right.
And
Yeah.
there, you know, you feel for the mom too. It's a single mom that, you know, she's
Watched
working
her
at
husband die. And
Right.
right.
And you know, now
layers.
that we're on Rue,
Mhm.
so I think one of the biggest selling points when DoctaReeka was telling me about the show was that Rue was an unreliable narrator, and I think that it was very telling. You know, it was very predictable beforehand as I was watching it, that where this was going. You can tell when Rue was kind of lying or kind of, you know, glossing over the truth. In this episode, this is probably one of the best examples of an unreliable narrator, because as she's telling us, like, you know, gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, all these steps on how to, you know, get you know, to go back into, or to how to relapse and how to get back on drugs. She's talking about this plan, and I'm like, oh shit, she has a plan. She has a plan, and she keeps telling people about this plan, and it needs $5,000 of what do you call it, of drugs fronted. Yeah. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, so what is she gonna do with all these drugs? And then she opens it and she's gonna take them, and I'm like, I have been the gaslit. I have been done the gaslighting, because I actually thought Rue was gonna do something, and she's just gonna take all that fentanyl.
No, I was at face for a minute. I was like, no, you dummy, Rue. And then the teacher's over here like, if you don't give me my money, I'm gonna kill you.
Look, that's gonna go so poorly.
Oh yeah.
Because like you said, we know where it's going now, and I think a lot of folks on the critics who got to see the first couple episodes talked about episode 5. I know we're not there yet, being kind of the rock bottom point for Rue.
Ooh.
And I think we saw the beginnings of that, because we see there's some kind of tension with Jules. And we'll get, I'm assuming we'll get to Elliot and what his whole deal is at some point.
Yeah.
But so there's tension there because, in part, because she is hiding the fact that she has relapsed, and there's tension between her and her sister, and her and now Ali.
Right.
And now she's kind of gotten herself into trouble in regards to this, this drug dealer who, on the surface, seems very apathetic, but really seems she'll get somebody, I imagine. So.
Probably the most least threatening drug dealer, just
But she didn't even phase.
By the
She was
way.
like, where's Mouse? Oh, okay, I'll do business with you then. She wasn't even phased that he'd been taken off the board.
Again, this is like the irony, like the contrast that we're always seeing. Hey, Rue, by the way, if you don't give me my money, I'll kill you. It's like, holy balls! Like, why are you saying
the thing is, I believe her.
I believe her too.
I fully believe
her. In the first episode of the season,
breakdown.
Yeah,
we're starting to see the build up because, like you said in that first episode, like this woman done. Y'all had to strip in the shop and you still went back with the girl. So we're definitely seeing the workings of whatever rock bottom looks like.
Man, but that first episode when he was like having her stripped down in the shower, like
right,
I was like feeling so uncomfortable, and like I was like, oh my god.
I mean, I didn't think Zendaya would strip down. I think that's in her contract, but it was, the tension was high. The tension was really high.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Show does a really good job at capturing what doesn't seem like should be a tension high scene, like with that teacher, like in this episode. But this teacher's like, she means it. Like she's all walk. She ain't talk. Like, but Rue's high too. And that's why it's so like weird to watch, because you're like, Rue, you're an idiot. You're high. This lady's going to kill you. Like, you're not making a good decision right now. It's frustrating to watch her. And that's what makes it so good.
So frustrating. Absolutely.
Especially when she throws Ali's problems back in his fucking face. The only person, like, besides, I think, Fez, you can argue that, yeah, he's a drug dealer and he gets, by association, involved in his stuff. But Ali is the only one that's just like, I'm just your ride home. I want to make sure you're okay, and I will never judge you. And then she goes and tells him to basically fuck off. Like,
right.
And
heartbreaking.
None of y'all watch the special. Is that correct?
No, I'm gonna go probably watch this now.
What I will say, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the basis of at least Rue's special, although I think it is, Jules gives important context as far as her relationship with her mother and why Rue's potential relapse, and now it's not potential anymore, would be so triggering for her. So I'm very concerned about where that's going to head. But specifically, Rue's is just about connecting with Ali. Like, the whole episode is them talking. And so you get that connection. You see where he's coming from. He shares about his life. And like you said, he genuinely actually does care about her because he sees himself in her. And yeah, that was a hard scene last night in terms of her starting to kind of whittle away all of her relationships or any type of support that she has.
So I imagine, yeah, it's probably 10 times more disheartening given that context. Oh my God. I'll probably watch the special, then rewatch that scene just to kind of get hit more. But yeah, it's very hard to root for Rue. I don't see it going well in the future.
And speaking about also her relationships, I feel like with something like this, it's definitely going to push Jules away. And
hands down.
It's weird because, like, at first I was like, all right, I'm team Rue and Elliot. Like, they seem kind of, like, I'd be for it. And then, like, Jules came back. I'm like, okay, well, I guess, it's Rue and Jules. And then, like, now you start to see a little chemistry between Jules and Elliot. And I'm like,
that came out of left field for me.
I don't know.
All the things he was saying to Jules, I was like, oh.
He's got, let me tell you, he's either the bravest man or the dumbest man, because he really said, yeah, I got a crush on your girlfriend. By the way, you're really cute. Unapologetically in this episode. And I'm like, hello?
Well, I mean, also to be fair, I don't think he knew that Rue and Jules were a thing.
Well,
Did he?
He asked. He was like,
I thought he asked after.
I mean, he asked in this episode, if I'm not mistaken, during that when him and Jules were alone. I'm pretty sure he was like,
Did they not? Were they not
didn't-
introduced to each other in episode 2?
No, they met.
Yeah.
They met because in episode 2, you're right. She was like, and she had to come up with the whole convoluted lie that she wasn't doing
Like,
drugs.
oh,
with him.
New Year's, that's right.
Right.
I'm pretty sure Rue introduced Jules as her girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yes, I think they did. I think she
I
did.
think he knew.
And then they
Right.
kiss in front of him. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
No,
was
they also
context.
fucked in front of him too. Oh, or were about to. They were about to. He was in the bed, and she's like,
He was
"No,
asleep.
That's
Yeah.
in front of him.
The point is, let's get back on track, that I personally can't get a read on him.
I can't get a read
I'm-
either.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where we're coming from or what we're doing or what the point is yet. Maybe that is the point, is to not know.
Sounds like a
And
wrench in the cog.
Could be. I mean,
Yeah.
we also haven't seen someone who is a drug user but not an addict, and I wonder if that's going to be like a wrench in Rue's visualization of, I want to be able to use drugs and not be, taking it to the next step. And yet here's someone who uses drugs pretty frequently but doesn't have a problem like Rue does.
Mhm.
So could be in a way like that, and then she has to now kind of figure out like, well, what's wrong with me that I'm different from someone like him. Like, she may think that I could use drugs just like how he does and I don't have to overstep my boundary, but then realistically she can't really, like, she will overstep her boundary.
But he doesn't know though about Rue. And
No, he doesn't.
Rue, Rue's ODing, Rue in rehab. He doesn't, right?
He doesn't
know,
know.
right?
Oh, he doesn't know about all that, but the girl almost died in front of him on
Yeah.
New Year's.
Right.
Oh,
and he was
right.
just
Oh my
like,
gosh, with the heart,
hmm.
right? You're right.
He was like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, if someone ever, being a former, thingy myself, if someone ever said, check my pulse, I'm sorry, that's gonna be something that you'll never forget, and then you'll be like, oh, so you definitely have a little
Something's
bit of
going
an
on
issue.
here.
You're
Yeah.
a little
I did
too-
not anticipate.
I-
Yeah.
right.
Or she's hiding it from Jules, and she told him like, hey, don't tell Jules that I'm doing drugs. Like, like, all right, now he's gonna have to lie for her. Like, if that wasn't another red flag,
Well, now he has to lie for her, but now he's, I guess, catching feelings. You don't just tell a girl she got Kurt Cobain hair without that trying to be some kind of coming on to, like,
Oh, wow.
come on. Who says that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something. I guess we'll see how it plays out. I don't think I have to spend a lot of energy trying to guess, but it is of interest.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's something I just kind of let unfold. But did y'all watch the thing after? Like
No.
the thing. You don't watch those things
oh
after?
yeah, the making of, or like the behind the scenes or whatever it is.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
really I didn't notice it until watching that. Just how Jules has transformed a bit this season. Like I did not realize, she went from that, kind of like, I don't know how to call it, like that Barbie doll look with the long pink hair and the whatnot. I don't know, she just looks more in touch with herself this season.
I agree.
If you watch the special,
Okay, see, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
watch
just gonna keep. The thing is, I think the specials, they did a smart job of like, you can watch the season without watching them, but it does give context to where she's at, which is why I think it impacted her look and her, her attitude this season
Right.
because of some of what was discussed in that particular episode. So
See, because I don't remember them leaving on good terms at the end of season 1.
Oh no, it was not good terms.
So that's why I was very confused when they were at like the bonfire and like they just picked up like normal, So maybe I mean, not maybe. I definitely have to watch those specials.
Well,
to
they
kind
didn't. Yeah, but I think they're at a point where they care so much for each other that they don't care about all the bullshit that
Fair.
they, you know,
Yeah.
that they experience with each other. So
It was very much
Which is-
kind of don't talk about it. Like it
Mm.
happened. Let's leave it in the past and move forward.
and
Which-
also Rue is remember we're seeing a lot of Rue's interactions with Jules through the eyes of Rue. So there's a lot that could not be like, I don't trust anything that I've seen in this season thus far. I am sorry, like after this episode, I'm like, what is true? What is real? What's going on? Like, how are these characters actually feeling, or how are they not feeling? You know?
And that is
That
the great.
is why I suggest a special. I'm gonna keep saying it, mainly because Jules' episode is literally just her perspective, and so you don't have that interplay of that Rue providing the narrative to it.
Mhm.
So I think that's what I'm so glad you said that, because it does make an impact that like every single episode that we see of just the series itself it starts with her starting her monologue about whomever, you know, we're focusing on. And so it is her, she's the protagonist, so it is her perspective, but it is a highly unreliable one.
Do we get her perspective when it comes to like other characters, or do we get the other characters' perspective?
I think when she introduces the other characters, I think she has I feel as if this is future Rue looking back on these situations. And
Is it?
Well, that's
No,
what
I think
that's
it's
what I
like-
assume.
That's a
Because
theory.
how does
That is
how does
one of-
how does Rue know the story of Cal unless she one day sat down with Cal and, you know, kind of, you know,
That's
try
the
to
thing with-
understand where he's coming from.
That's the
I
thing
was-
with unreliable narrators. They don't need a reason to make you believe a lie.
Well, that's the thing, because if this is a lie, will we ever get the actual narrative of what happened? Because if she is as unreliable as people say, yeah, what do we know to be actually true? If the special gives you know, more insight from Jules's perspective, maybe things weren't going the way Rue had been describing them the whole time. And so you're shaking your head as in, yes, that's what's happening. Got it. Now I gotta go watch the special. Now I gotta go
Yeah,
watch
I
the
think-
watch the special and then rewatch season 1, so I can be like, wow.
Well, yeah, I think it just adds an extra layer of context to the fact. I think some of what Rue shares, there's an element of truth, but there's also just her own spin on it and her own judgment too. I mean, it's still coming from her, and any information you receive from a person is still going to be biased in some way. And
Yes.
even information that you receive from it, like any information ever in the history of all it existing, is going to be biased in some way. There
Mhm.
is some degree of agenda attached to it.
Mhm.
Sometimes bias is good, sometimes it's not. And so, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to see how things play out. There's so many different ways this can go, and I like that they are bringing in, like you talked about, this episodic nature, that there are just so many things happening at once, and we get kind of a peek into all these different characters and their experiences.
Right.
Let's talk about Lexi right now.
Okay,
I was
I
gonna
was
say,
literally about to
like,
say, talking
Yeah.
about,
Play, it's gonna open up a can of worms.
oh, you're talking about the play.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oklahoma?
for sure.
Also,
Oh,
I think Ethan was cast as Nate.
I think so too. Yeah.
oh,
the
when he
Nate
said I
stand-in.
got the part.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Because it's based on everybody, right? The play.
Mm-hmm.
I
Presumably.
imagine so.
Silent observer. She just watches.
Right. Oh my
Just
gosh.
Oh God, that gave me that when you said that gave me what do you call it?
Goose
What's
pimples.
that guy from Gossip Girl vibes?
Who,
Hodge.
Dan?
Dan.
Wait, Dan, the main character, Dan?
Yes, the main character Dan.
Has everyone
'Cause he
seen
was-
Gossip Girl?
Lexi.
I've only seen the new season.
Dan is
Oh.
Gossip
New
Girl.
series. Oh, I knew that.
Oh, okay.
You should also put that as a spoiler on the
Ah,
podcast.
it's been out for years.
Oh my God.
Statutes of limitations. Sorry.
Back to Lexi.
It wasn't it really cool how Lexi, they said she was
Yeah,
like
character.
on a TV show set. Yeah, a character.
Yeah.
I love that scene.
I thought it was great where she was like, and cut, like, you know. But I mean, in a way, it's super fucked up that like when there's conflict happening, it's escapism. Like she totally escapes out of reality.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right.
All right, well, I'm not here. I'm not going to interact. I don't want to be part of this conflict. So I'm going to be in my safe space and feel like I'm the one who's calling the shots. Feel like I'm the one that's the director. Feel like I'm the one that
You're feeling like you're the main character. She's the main character in her story.
And I don't even know if she even wants to be the main character. I think she just wants to be the one that's kind of controlling the environment that she's going to be a part of. And that's why she kind of goes in this escape where if it's not going to go in the way that she's picturing it, then it's a movie. It's a show. It's a ruse, you know, like, and it's
the drama. It's for the drama.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper. I feel like psychologically than like what it just was.
It's also very good meta commentary on the show's part, because even though these things, this show feels so real sometimes, but being able to understand that it's just a show and we can walk away from it. But these characters are Lexi's literally trying to become an audience member or even someone like a part of the crew, but she can't because she's still a character. It's just very, very funny.
Oh, also speaking of perspectives, did you notice that when she was calling like the shots and doing the direction, Rue came and sat on there and she was just a hot mess. Like she was like, what's up? Like
it was great because Rue is playing the fictionalized Rue in Lexi's head, which is pretty accurate to the Rue.
Right, and that's the thing is like her sitting down and just being in the chair kind of gets you out of the perspective of Rue, and now you're in the perspective of Lexi.
And how
and
she views
that's
her.
how people really view Rue as like sluggish, like slurring, you know, person that's like just like not coherent with what's going on around them. And that was really, and then also, do the names have any correlation to the Israeli TV show? Because her name was Jade.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Literally, that's all I know. Is that it was based off of that. That's all I know.
But you know, what do you call it? Having Rue even sit and have like an interview that there is an existence where Rue still is outside of the TV show for Lexi says a lot, because I think that was there another character that got like a seat and like with an interview style?
No, I think only
Lexi
and Rue got one.
So it's really telling that Lexi still like loves Rue, like not of course it's platonic, but still like has this very strong emotions and attachment towards Rue after everything, that even though she's still, you know, this person that Lexi can't even recognize anymore almost, that there's still a place for her. Right. I find that very telling.
They've been best friends since pre-K.
And then even with like the escapism, like when her mom said that Rue overdosed, she like went back and said this whole like alternate, like, okay, like this isn't real life. Let me go and try and make this a movie set. Let me try and make this like something that I'm a character in, or this is a drama that I'm a part of, like outside of my.
I was going to say that we see with the two sisters that there's this juxtaposition that Cassie has to like immediately try to find connection to fill in whatever she maybe perceives as missing in her, whereas Lexi pulls away and creates more space and kind of dissociates in all this. So I think it is.
Well, except with Fez.
Except with Fez.
Yes, that is very interesting.
Well, that's because Fez sees her, because, you know, Lexi gets overshadowed by Cassie. And, you know, I mean, Fez said it best. What he say? He's like, you're the coolest person here. Like, how do you know all this shit? He sees her.
And you know what? It makes
a place where she feels like she's behind the scenes. Being seen, I feel like, is monumental.
Yeah, and you know, it makes me feel that there is a cinematic parallel with the season 2 of Fleabag with the priest.
I was gonna say that. Did you just read? I was gonna say the same thing. By the way, people who are listening to the podcast, watch Fleabag Anyway, yes, there is in terms
Yeah.
of like
between Fez's relationship with Lexi, because especially in this episode, or as season 2 is building out, in Fleabag there is a definite like narrative distance that Fleabag has, and then the priest can literally just see right through and even questions her on it. The same thing that Fez does.
Who are you talking to? Yeah.
Yeah, and then
It's
Fez is
brilliant.
kind of like, why do you do that? Why do you deflect? You know, like, and she's like, what? So I think it's interesting, and I'm happy that it's a very interesting pairing that I don't think would work, but then somehow it just does, and I'm rooting for them.
I am rooting for them too, because you know the layers of Fez. It's really hard to like Fez sometimes because I do feel he is some bit of the root of Rue's problems, and that's why their friendship is so interesting too, and how he considers her family, but has put her in this predicament. But he rides a great line, but I would like to say he's a good person. You know, I mean,
like situation is chaos, and in a way, she was a product of chaos. Like her home life was very chaotic.
Right.
So, in a way, even though he sees her and she's like, "Well, this isn't right for me," she feels comfortable because she feels comfort in that chaos, and she knows that like the high risk is me being with him, but then the high reward could also be me being with him. So very interesting in that dynamic. And I know Nino has an idea of who he'd like Lexi to be with, and I wonder if he's going to share it on the podcast.
Is it not Fez? You just said you were rooting for
It
him.
is Fez.
Oh, it is Fez. And who was it that had the...
Somebody said Ethan.
Yeah.
In our little
no.
Oh, yeah,
Hooper
yeah.
TV said he was rooting for Kat and Ethan.
Yeah. You can't
I don't know if I
take
really
you can't
care
get,
for them.
you can't take an admiral's opinion anywhere.
I will say
Admiral.
there's something that one of the critics said is that because there's just so many characters that you have to like juggle, some characters are going to take a backseat, and
Yes.
and they were saying that Kat is the one that kind of falls by the wayside for this season. Although I did really like the scene from last episode, but I think
yes,
love
it
yourself.
feels like because maybe some of her concerns are a little bit more internal, like she's navigating depression, anxiety, insecurities that aren't quite like, I mean, Ethan can be impacted by it, but like some of the other concerns folks are dealing with like directly impact all these other folks. Or
Right, they're all
So
intertwined. They're kind of out in there.
yeah,
I mean,
so I'm
even
wondering-
them, their own chaotic life. I feel like Kat is like, my life isn't as chaotic as theirs. Like, I feel boring compared to them. And I think
don't
that's why
know.
I feel bored in that relationship.
I think she needs
It'll
to
be
take a step
interesting.
back because
Yeah.
doing what she was doing, Kitty Queen. I don't know. That sounds kind of chaotic to me.
Right.
Controlled chaos.
She means it. She misses it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
No,
He's not
exactly.
in that.
With the Dothraki coming in and like
Girl,
conquering her.
Can I
I'm
just
putting
say that
a
Dothraki's
big
sword was
hair.
not accurate?
It was not. It was actually that was a claymore. Dothraki carries sickles, if I remember right.
The sickle swords. You are absolutely right.
Okay, sword knowledge.
Right. Just
You gotta
throwing
pay
that out
attention.
there. And also that Dothraki was very fair skinned. Dothraki are known to be really strong and on the melanin count. Okay, just throw that out
I
there.
think they did well with what they had. They didn't want to exactly get Jason Momoa to come out and be on Euphoria, but
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a good visual of Jason Momoa just coming out and
poor.
You know,
Yeah.
Stop it right there. Stop it right there. We good. We get it. Yeah.
okay.
You know,
Wow.
regardless, I think her storyline is it's the weakest, maybe.
So
for
far,
this
yeah.
season.
For now.
Weaker than McKay's right now because McKay has done jack shit.
Yeah,
Who
Who
he
cares
ain't
about
got nothing.
McKay? I'm so done. Get him out.
Who?
I'm
I care
That
about
was aggressive.
McKay.
That was
I
aggressive.
want to know. Yeah, that was aggressive.
I'm
That
sorry.
was
Gotta
aggressive.
be-
I'm very critical of the actor, Algie Smith. I'm sorry. That's just
Oh.
yes. I like
don't know
him
what
and then
he's
I
done.
don't like him.
Okay.
He did the New Edition story, which he was really good in. He was
Was
also
he in The
in.
Hate You Give?
He was in The Hate You Give. Yes.
The Hate You Give.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they just done wrong by him just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there
Kinda.
is some critiques that could be made about the lack of representation in terms of dark-skinned folks, specifically dark-skinned Black folks. And so he's kind of it's like, oh, the one you had is now kind of fallen by the wayside. Y'all didn't really give him a lot to do. So there's some critiques that we can have there.
They
But
set him
maybe
up.
it picks up. Yeah, maybe.
It could, but they definitely set him up, making him older than everybody. You know?
They did.
So it was like, how do you bring this college kid back into the fray? You know, making it make sense.
And he has a really good chance of an interesting story because he's dealing with ideas of like expectations, but they parallel Nate's, but they go in a completely different direction. Because Nate just turned into a psychopath with no remorse for anything, and McKay's actually dealing with like having to conserve and like take inward his emotions to not be fazed by anyone. It's a really interesting storyline, and I wish they would go back.
Well, I
think
they did a good job with McKay in season 1. Like, and you know, I didn't even think about the parallel between his dad versus Cal, but you're absolutely right, because you know he was taught to channel that into explosiveness, predominantly for the field, but then you had that scene with the frat boys in season 1, and he channeled it as he was taught. He just channeled it into Cassie, which was not okay. You know, how he's supposed to bottle it up and explode. So that part was not okay. But it is interesting, the parallel. So I would like to see McKay and Kat and all these other characters who are not really doing much this season make it make sense, though. To
be honest, I feel like Maddie has taken a huge step back too.
She has too.
And I want to see
think because her time is coming, because she got missed.
Like we said,
so no matter how much she takes a step back, she got her little Joker card. Like, she ready.
Yes, she is the time bomb, right? Yeah, she got the trigger. She ready to blow.
She's like the worst person to have it too. If we talk about the characters.
As far as that family goes, it's like she hates that fucking family because they don't like her. So
I'm not supposed to be here because that's when I texted our group chat when I watched that scene where she's like, I'm not supposed to be here because I'm dressed like a hooker. And I was like, oh,
the carnival. Which I thought that might be my favorite
word.
Episode too. The carnival.
Carnival was such a good episode.
It was a really good episode.
Yeah.
But I think we covered all grounds for this episode. And
I feel like what's cool about our deep dives into this is that we get very psychological in it. And like, for our viewers or our listeners that are out there, you're welcome for this free therapy session. This is just a sample for when DoctaReeka becomes a full-on therapist. She will charge by the hour.
Right. You hit her up. Because whatever you do, if you listen to this cast, we are not liable for what you hear and what you do after.
I mean, I am also not liable. I just don't lump me in there too.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We got licenses that hang in the balance based off of what y'all do. Don't associate. That's why I'm Grandmaster Hoop. Y'all don't know my real name. I hope.
Yeah, I think this was I think the season's gonna shape up to be quite interesting.
Can I count on y'all to see y'all next week? Because this would be great to do again. And I think the viewers would like that too.
Maybe a live reaction.
I don't know if episode 5 is rock bottom, then episode 4 is getting to rock bottom. I don't know if I can.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You know what we should try to do?
Anyway. Chaos.
We should just try to we should start. You guys take baby steps. Do a watch party, then do a live reaction. You know,
Okay.
So do a watch party for episode 4.
I watched it with Apex last night, and that was quite the experience. We had a good time eating Popeyes and then popping this episode on, and then under certain influences that I will not digress anymore. Yeah.
You'll see.
That's right.
You'll see us again. We'll be back.
Okay.
We'll be back.
All right. That's what I like to hear. That's the energy. Well, listen, folks, we're going to close out this episode of the Yonkō Table covering Euphoria. Y'all tune into Euphoria. New episodes, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central. Yeah, 8 o'clock. Hey, 8 o'clock. I learned a time zone. HBO Max or however you watch HBO shows. If you want to tune in, we try posting these either after the episode or following Monday. So yes, tune in for more. Hopefully we get some more people hopping on this Euphoria train. And of course, the Yonkō Table. We have a wide variety of topics we cover. So go check out our catalog. Again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All your social media needs are met. Listen, I'm GrandMasterHoop. There's Darce, NinoDesplasado, and DoctaReeka. Y'all have a good night.